Laughter,
reírse antes de una
provocation,
sentencia.
crying are different reactions of criminals before sentence. In this video, I will show you 15 different reactions of criminals. Michael Madison was on trial in Ohio for killing 3 women in 2013 and adopted a defiant and provocative attitude in the courtroom. Some hesitant smiles were the trigger for the Van Terry to rush towards him. Just at the moment before the attack, Van Terry had the turn to speak. "We are supposed to find deep in our hearts forgiveness for this clown who killed my daughter," the father said. Then he turned around, saw the smile, and lunged for Michael Madison's neck. It mattered little to this hurt father that the room was full of police, cameras, and magistrates.
I am struck by the sheer inhumanity of what one human being can do to not one, but 3 human beings. Accordingly, the sentence of death is imposed upon the defendant, Michael Madison, on counts 1.
Lane walked into Hardened High
and
School in Ohio with a gun on February 27, 2012, and opened fire in the cafeteria, which was full of students at the time. At the time of the trial, he has shown himself to be very defiant towards the family members.
Prosecutor and from the Lake County Prosecutor's Office, Karen Colwell. Thank you.
Saying pull the trigger, the killer's done, now masturbates to memory. Love you.
All right, that's all your client has to say, Mr. Friedman.
Yes, Your Honor.
The story of Isabella Guzman, the TikTok murderer who stabbed her mother 78 times over a simple fight. Doctors declared her innocent after certifying that she suffered from schizophrenia, and she was sent to a state hospital. This is how he reacted upon receiving the sentence.
I was not myself when I did that, and I have since been restored to full health. If I could change it or if I could take it back, I would.
Otto Warmbier, the vacation in North Korea that cost the young American his life. He claimed that he had tried to steal a propaganda poster from a hotel as a trophy for a church in the U.S., with the connivance of the U.S. government, with the purpose of harming the work ethic and motivation of the people. Korean. Afterwards, he would burst into tears. "I have made the worst decision of my life, but I am only a human being."
How I was used and manipulated. Please, act to save me. Please save my life. Please think of my family. I'm the oldest son in my family.
Sat in this courtroom more than a dozen times, and all I've seen was a smile. But I do hope that one day that Osuna will have sorrow and remorse.
I'm sadistic. I really don't care. I'll do it and I'll do it again over and over and over.
The horrible crimes of the man of 1,000 faces. His 2011 murder was notable not only for its horror, but also for the ruthless, tattoo-ridden man who eventually admitted to it. Jamie Osuna, 34, has a Joker smile tattooed on her face and a pentagram on her forehead. There is barely a spot on his face that has not been touched by ink. In interviews with former KGET reporter Olivia Lavois, Osuna described the emotion he felt when killing Peña, whose murder by torture he admitted and received a sentence of life in prison without parole. "I recognize myself as someone who is not afraid to indulge without the consequences and let society shape him. As laws change and society changes, people change with it," Osuna told Lavois before it began the trial. "I made myself and I'm proud of it," he said. For Osuna, murder is a career. and it is alleged that after Peña's death, he did it again.
Answer, you don't believe you're crazy, do you?
No, I don't think I'm crazy, no.
And you do know the difference between right and wrong?
Yes.
So you know murder is wrong?
Murder is a different name for a death, but yes. I'm up here to tell the truth. You can ask me anything you want, I'm gonna tell the truth. How it was, whether it hurts me, whether it helps me. I don't care about that.
A jury unanimously recommending that the defendant be sentenced to death.
Michael Brady sentenced to death for Pasquotank correctional murders. Brady compared himself to a hot water heater ready to blow at any minute. That's how I am until some big event, whether it's shooting a state trooper, whether trying to escape from prison, whether it is a serious fight. Once that big event happens, all the pressure is gone, Brady added. Brady told the court the escape plan was all his idea. The 30-year-old says if he didn't escape 2 years ago, he wanted to be killed. Neither of them happened. Monday, Mr. Womble said it best, Brady added. He said you hunt as a pack, you're responsible for the kill. In this case, you can pretty much call me pack leader. I was trying to get every officer that responded to shoot me, and none of them would, Brady said. The sentencing hearing could take several more days before the jury starts deliberating. The jury will decide if it is life in prison or the death penalty for Brady. Every jury member chose to sentence Brady to death. In North Carolina, if all jurors are not in unanimous agreement, the defendant is sentenced to life in prison. Shortly after, the judge decided to accept the jury's recommendation.
Who killed Jennifer Fulford?
I did.
All right. You bought zip ties?
Yes, I did.
You bought duct tape?
That'd be correct.
You bought a knife?
I sure did.
Why did you bind her hands behind her back?
I would imagine so that she couldn't leave.
Why did you bind her feet with duct tape?
I imagine so she wouldn't walk away.
And why did you wrap her entire head in the duct tape?
Probably so she couldn't scream.
Durante su juicio, Nelson se mostró tranquilo y sin remordimiento, pidiendo así la pena de muerte.
I never intended to kill that woman. It was not in my heart to do that. It wasn't what I had planned. I am a homicidal maniac.
We, the jury, unanimously find that Scott Edward Nelson should be sentenced to death. No. Agreeing that at least one member of the jury voted for a sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole.
Florida man charged with murder asked for death sentence. After detailing what he called years of mistreatment in federal prison, Scott Nelson told the court he wanted the death sentence Monday afternoon. By Miami Daily Newsroom, jury found Nelson guilty of 2017 murder of nanny and personal assistant. After detailing what he called years of mistreatment in federal prison, Scott Nelson told the court he wanted the death sentence Monday afternoon. The jury found Nelson guilty of the 2017 murder of Winter Park, Florida, nanny and personal assistant Jennifer Fulford. The decision to recommend a death sentence must be unanimous, or Scott will likely be sentenced to life in prison. Nelson described on the stand his nearly 20 years in federal prisons for robbery. He claimed he was beaten and raped, contracted hepatitis C, and suffered brutal conditions, to the point that he wrote a letter to Senator Bernie Sanders about it. It was part of his plea for the jury to give him a more lenient life sentence. But then, in the afternoon, a prosecutor asked him if he wanted the death penalty, and he said yes. He also told the court he was a homicidal maniac. Early in the morning, the defense put a psychologist on the stand who testified that Nelson had mental deficits caused by abuse as a child, along with head trauma. Authorities heard testimony from other witnesses, from doctors and family members to a prison guard who spoke about Nelson's run-ins with other inmates during his 2 decades in jail.